Now to Africa, where a continent-wide survey of 18 to 24-year-olds suggests more than half had to pause their education or lost their job as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. The Africa Youth Survey 2021 got the thoughts of 4,500 young people in 15 countries, from South Africa to Sudan and Ghana to Mozambique. Researchers conducted face-to-face interviews, and the sample was equally split between men and women. While the survey found 37% had stopped or paused their education, and almost 1 in 5 said they became unemployed because of the pandemic. It also reveals hesitation towards vaccines, with 39% saying they would refuse a coronavirus jab. It seems misinformation plays a part in that, with 58% believing the death toll from the coronavirus pandemic has been exaggerated. Although, interestingly, almost 2/3 of those asked did approve of their government's handling of the pandemic. Well, we can speak now to Ivo Ichikowicz, who's chairman of the Ichikowicz Family Foundation, which carried out the Africa Youth Survey 2021. He joins us from Johannesburg. Ivo, thank you for being with us. And just that first factor of the number of young Africans who seem to have had to at least put their education on hold or suffered the loss of a job because of pandemic. I mean, it's an incredibly high number.
It's an extremely high number and a very, very worrying factor. You know, in the first edition of the survey, which we conducted in 2019 and 2020, we measured an incredibly high level of optimism amongst the African youth. And that high level of optimism came from the fact that they believed that they were starting to get access to education, that they were being connected to the rest of the world, and that they had a role to play in shaping the continent. And this The lack of access to education during the virus has almost put us at risk of having another lost generation, and the continent cannot afford that.
And it seems from your survey that it's not just COVID, but the fear of death from infectious diseases is something that's really on their minds.
Long before COVID became a reality, our survey identified that this was high on the minds of African youth. In 2019, long before COVID was even contemplated, the threat of infectious disease was one of the highest issues of concern to this demographic. And look how prophetic that was.
But when you then look at the fact that vaccines are becoming available, although obviously supply is a big issue, there's a surprising amount of reluctance to accept the jab. Why is that?
So for me personally, that is the single biggest concern. You know, in my view, none of us are safe until all of us are safe. And the massive extent to which the African youth do not want to take this vaccine could keep this continent under the scourge for a long, long time. The thing that concerns me most is this is coming from fake news. This is coming from misinformation. What we discovered in the survey is that African youth get their news from television and from social media. Social media is creating a scenario where they are consuming and believing huge amounts of fake news. Some of this fake news is being planted maliciously. Some of it is just mischievous. But until governments and until the international community start putting out the right messages there, we're going to land up with an Africa that isn't vaccinated. And an Africa that isn't vaccinated is dangerous to itself and to the rest of the world.
Really important to hear the results from your survey. Ivo Ichikowicz, thank you very much for joining us on BBC World News.